Hi, welcome. On this video, I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss the issue of control within the parameters of the relational approach as it connects with change itself. Now, this is where you'll see, even in my board training process, you'll see a very tightly controlled script, as I call it, or how the methodology all comes together, blends together to promote change, and through using leashes, the interactions, even with using the crate. Because here's the thing, to understand about this whole issue about motives and control and how change actually sets up through the method itself, is that knowing how it works, it's defined in and through the person, okay, and how the methodology actually speaks the language. So really important to understand this issue about language, how that sets up. So it's the language of the method itself, how that actually defines change. So that's why, again, the integrity of the method has to be tightly defined. It's got to be defined in such a way that's going to set it up that way. So when a dog already has, this is the thing to understand, already has a level of control, the dog being just, loose, okay, and you're just, you kind of bring the dog under a certain methodology, isn't going to be good enough. That's the thing to understand. This is why this whole weight, response, this type of interaction, can be very problematic based on the issue of these control issues. Is that the response itself, with just getting a dog to wait, say, for eating its food, from the appearance level, that can look okay. But if you really pay attention and look at these dogs, you see their minds jumping. Okay, they're waiting because they basically saying to themselves, "Well, I have to wait." But I'm still in control. Okay, so again, it's about the integrity of the script. I'm not just talking about that one interaction either, but here's the thing: if you see a person advocating that, then you know it's going to be kind of loosey-goosey all over the place. But again, it's important to understand the issue of how it needs to come together, a certain structure, the integrity of the method, to promote change. And here's the thing: you'll see this. When a dog knows or senses that this is happening, when the methodology is coming together properly, you'll see them get more desperate. Okay, they know what's going on. Okay, and desperate in the sense of the level of control a dog has. So dogs that have a tremendous amount of control issues going on, they sense it's coming, and they'll take it, and you'll see the contrast, which means that then you take the dog off the leash. Okay, in a certain interaction, they'll go way above. They'll be like, wow, this dog is really not getting desperate, not liking that. Well, you can frame it up. It's like a teenager that, the parents stepping up to bat. They're starting to get in the teenager's airspace, a rebellious teenager. At one point, a teenager kicks a hole in the door, okay, because they're so, angry that certain things are happening. Well, it's kind of like the same thing. So, but here's the other thing about the issue about control, is that within the relational changing script, with how the methodology comes together, it's temporary. Okay, the level of control that's happening, and it is very tightly defined. It's very intentional, so it maximizes change. Okay, that's the point. You don't release the dog from this process until that change happens. And there's certain benchmarks, there's certain indicators that along the way that you can test where you're at. But it's not the type of test where, here's the thing to understand about experience of this, is I already know. This is why, again, people will look at, say, a board and train process with how I'm doing it and say, why isn't that dog off leash yet? Like, he's using that leash like crazy. He looks like, it's a way over the top. No, I understand how this stuff sets up. So, for example, when that's why, again, I start right in the process. You might see dogs on muzzles. You'll see, me working the leash like crazy. You'll see certain things because I already know where, what needs to happen. So when I'm tippy-toeing around day 12, and you'll see it because I show it around day 12, I already know once that dog starts coming off the leash, it's solid because of how the relational changing process, the integrity of that process sets up change. Whereas, here's the thing, other trainers, and this is the problem, okay, they just look at the picture. They just look at the dog being off leash in certain interactions and say that's good and the owner wants that, well, the motives can be rotten to the core. Okay, this is the whole thing. When you look at the getting a dog to wait, that's the same problem in that type of methodology to say, well, defining that as something good's happening. Absolutely not. Okay, it's understanding these control issues. And here's the problem. If you do not understand these issues with the motives of dogs, the method itself is gonna not hold up. Okay, it's gonna fall to pieces. So again, control itself, how control manifests, how it comes together, it connects to the methodology, is merely temporary. That's the issue. Yes, there's a high level of control brought on the dog, but it's within the parameters of change. That's the thing to understand about the method. Okay, so when you see me advocating a high level of control and structure, it's for a reason, but it's also to keep it safe. So that is to make sure, for example, bad things don't happen. So when the dog's aggressive and has a lot of control going on, you want to keep it, you want to line up a certain way. This is what makes this system really great at keeping it safe for people. And the reason I can say I've only been bitten one time in 20 years. It wasn't even a dog I was handling because of how intentional the method is. Okay? So just understand, people want what they want, right? They want to see the dog, even and this is the thing, even in a board and train situation, people want the dog floating around the house and everything looking great. Absolutely don't do that. Okay, you have to rebuild those bridges. Just understand, it's not about the picture. The picture is the problem in the dog training world. I want people to understand that. It's a picture problem because it's a motives problem. It's a control problem. Okay, all these trainers don't really understand these issues about motives and control and how those things all play out. So the methodology has to come together, be very intentional out of the starting gate. So just something to think about. Control is part of change, but if you don't have change happening, you're always going to be in a management situation and just controlling a problem. So think of it that way too. So it's all about how this stuff sets up. It's understanding what needs to happen. So again, when I'm doing things a certain way, I already know the outcome. Okay, I already know where it's all heading. I don't have to, and I won't. I'm not going to let that dog go off the leash, do certain things for the pitcher to appease the dog owner. Okay, that's the problem because they don't really understand. I understand, so I'm not releasing that dog from that script until I know where I'm at, until I know. I'm putting it to the test. I already know. And you can tell. Here's the thing. You can put everything I say to the test. You bring a dog under the script of certain interactions and then release that dog at a certain point and then bring it back in. That dog's going to get real testy. The challenge rate's going to go way up. You'll see that. You'll even see that contrasting off people. You go from a certain person, the dog has a lot of, the dog really sees that person in a way that's very weak. It's gained a lot relationally. The motives are rotten. You a certain dog owner, and then you switch it to another dog owner who's more defined by leadership. That dog's mind will flare up and then back again. So you'll see these control issues go back and forth. So it's really understanding how this works. Again, people are trying to figure this stuff out. Well, I nail it down. Okay, this system is very intentional. Everything happens for a reason. So anyway, just something to think about. Thanks for watching.